you very much for having me. I actually did this about 4 or 5 weeks ago in Orlando, so it's really great to be down here and see another group of you guys in St. Pete. My name is Nate Carroll, and I'm here to talk to you about ClikClok. So a little background. About 12 years ago, I studied in grad school lean manufacturing and Toyota and did some implementations of that. Then I co-founded and sold a software company that did enterprise building maintenance software. And then after that, I did strategy consulting. So I was perfectly poised for what I was about to walk into when I landed a consulting contract with a staffing company in 2012. And I can sum this up in one word: insanity. Now picture this: 900 temps faxing 900 paper timesheets. All of this has to be manually input into spreadsheets, payroll software, into the QuickBooks. There's week-long delays on reports. There's no security, and all of this is part of the system running a $45 million company. Obviously, this is a problem. What is exactly the problem? Well, it's twofold. The problem is bad processes and bad metrics. Oh, that went away too fast. But it's bad metrics, the second one. So the solution is ClikClok. ClikClok solves this problem. Now, ClikClok is a complete product. It is currently being sold. It's built for small staffing companies, and it is delivered on a SaaS model. And it solves these problems by encouraging industry best practices and providing the metrics to make more profitable decisions. Now, in its current form, ClikClok can reduce accounting workload by about 33%. And in an average staffing company, just this savings alone is enough to pay the subscription cost of the software. Now, a quick look at the software, because everybody is curious. The first thing you log into and see is the dashboard. We've got easy entry forms for clients and temps. We've got color-coded screens so you can quickly find the information that you're looking for. And in the actual timesheets itself, because there are about 100 different online timesheet software, we capture 110 points of data, which is completely different than regular timesheets. That's what makes it special for staffing. This payroll component, we get the files ready, send them over to the payroll operator. This saves the staffing company at least 3 hours a week, just that component alone. What we're really excited about is the launch of our simple invoice engine, which will be released at about the end of this month. This sends invoices out to the clients. This saves about 5 to 10 hours per week in processing time. Now, what's really exciting about these invoices is it is the bridge to phase 2 of the software. And phase 2 is the implementation of business intelligence. So we're transferring ClikClok from being a functional product into a smart product that brings enterprise-level efficiencies to small staffing companies. Phase 3 will be the addition of business services, which will add additional streams of revenue for the company. Now, you may be wondering, what's the market? Well, in 2013, the staffing industry generated $135 billion in revenue. This was divided between 15,000 staffing companies. And if you look at the portion of the market that ClikClok is after, we're looking at the entry-level market, which is staffing companies between $2 and $50 million in gross annual revenue. And you may be thinking, well, surely someone has some software. Well, that's true. There are currently 4 other companies that do software kind of similar to this, but they all operate up here in the enterprise market, and nobody else is competing in the entry-level market. So it's a wide difference. So where are we? About 6 months ago, we soft launched our sales. We currently have paying customers, and wait for it, we have contracts worth $15,000 a month pending. So that's our goal. So our goal is by the end of next year to be at about a $500,000 run rate. We have two prices. One is a startup price and a subscription price. And in order to achieve our goal, 40% of this will come from startup and 60% from active subscriptions. We only need 40 customers and get 3 new customers a month in order to achieve this, which we're already on track to do. Now, you may have thought that I was an amazing person doing this myself. I should have worn my Superman cape. But there are actually 13 of us who work, and this is a combination of full-time, part-time, a little bit of slave labor, and some equity partners that have helped make this possible. So what do I need? What am I looking for? Well, I'm looking for staffing company owners, and I do a lot of networking with commercial bankers. So if you know anyone who knows anyone, or I actually say if you slept with anybody in college who maybe started a staffing company, please introduce me because that would be very helpful. Currently we are self-funded, but we're talking to a couple of angel groups, so we're open to any of those kinds of introductions as well. My name is Nate, and this has been ClikClok. Does it also, like a general timekeeping software? ClikClok is actually built specifically for the way staffing companies work. So, like I said, there are about 150 different general timekeeping softwares. Another question I get pretty commonly is, can it be used for other verticals like CPAs or lawyers and things like that? But it is actually, the process is all built for the way the staffing companies work. And we actually, because it encourages industry best practices, the flow is not really adaptable at this point. Yeah.
The timesheets, one of the problems you stated was all the paperwork that's coming in and has to be entered. So an employer of temp personnel, do they go online to enter all that information? And then submit it to the staffing company?
Right. All the information is generated and submitted online. So the software generates the new timesheets every week. And then the temp enters their time, then it goes to a manager, the manager approves it all online, and once it's approved, then it's ready for the staffing company. They can send it off to payroll, they can export it, they can put it in QuickBooks, they can send invoices, it's all ready. There's no payroll, there's no paper, there's no faxing, there's no emails, and all this happens.
So how does it get moved over to the employer?
The manager gets an email when the temp submits it, so it all happens online. So the temp logs in, submits the time, and then as soon as the temp says, I'm done with my time, and in 40 hours, the manager gets an email and says, Johnny did 40 hours, please go and approve it. Yep, sure enough. Yeah.
When you looked at workforce planning, as the temp employees go from customer to client to client, staffing companies have a lot of big issue with how they manage the transition of those people from one account to another.
So if the staffing company has one temp and they go to a number of different locations?
Right. Well, and more importantly, they're finishing up an assignment at this firm, and there's a new firm that is coming up managing that migration.
We don't actually manage the migration, but we do have a provision because, again, it's built for the way staffing companies work. We have an individual placement, so the temp always has the same account. This was one of the problems with regular timesheets, is the regular timesheet software don't account for people moving from one location to another by still being employed by the staffing company. So we do take that into account. We don't actually help with the physical transition or the move over. Yes.
Is this enabled on mobile devices?
For the temps, yes, it is. So we looked at who accesses this via mobile. You can see that on your stats, and really only about 10% of temps even try, but all the managers and the admins and the accounting, everybody else uses it on just a regular laptop.
Will you eventually be a clearinghouse for temps? I mean, if someone is involved in your program and you've got companies, and you say, hey, you already signed up with us, it's easy for us to put you through the process with this company who's looking for temps. And that way, with a badge swipe that always has your critical information, is that a possibility?
I can't reveal my Machiavellian plans to take over. We've looked at a number of options upstream and downstream. There are several different types of softwares and processes that come before us in the staffing processes, and there are a few that come after us. So we've definitely looked at expanding both directions or moving over more like what you're talking about is either a VMS or a temp holding. So we've looked at what those options are as we accumulate data. So the most valuable thing for us, if you look at the business plan, is not actually the revenue. It's not how much money we can make. It's how many customers can we acquire? How many people can we get on our system? So we make it easy to use. If we get funded, we're going to basically just give it away and go for customer acquisition and depth of product. Yep.
I have two questions. One of your slides, I thought, said that the companies, your clients, would save as much money as it costs. And then the second question is, why commercial banks?
The second question is a really great one. I get asked that one sometimes. There was a slide in there. It depends on, everything depends, but in a typical staffing company, the example I gave was a staffing company that had 100 temps. And 33% savings so this was an actual case study that we did, and they had about a 33% savings, which saved them about $26,000 a year. And it's not that they actually stopped, they cut those people off, but what we found is that that when the accounting department has more time, instead of just shuffling papers and manually entering things, they can do things like, one real life example, the accounting department had time to go through and transfer all their accounts from credit cards to ACH, would save them another $8,000 a month. And that's just because they had time to do that.
So do they save more money than what it costs them, or?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, they definitely can save more money. So the example that I gave was only in labor savings, only in reduced labor savings. There are a lot of other intrinsic savings. For instance, most small staffing companies factor their payroll. We can, with our invoice engine, we can get the invoices out faster. If we reduce the age of the invoice by 5 days, we can save them $180,000 a year in interest. And why commercial banks? Staffing company owners don't reply to emails. They don't answer their phones because they don't have to, mostly. But the people that do answer their phones are bankers. If you call a banker, they will call you back. If you email a banker, they will email you back. If you connect with them on LinkedIn, in about an hour, they'll connect back with you and probably send you a message. Staffing companies need banks and bankers and loans, and so if the banker says, hey, I got this guy with the software, they'll usually answer their phone. So that's why the commercial banks. I've tried to go in through CPAs and lawyers, and that doesn't work either, but the commercial bankers, that's where the money is. Yeah.
Now, you were able to generate a report for future clients from the ones you had. So this is the savings we create just by time allocation versus what we were doing 6 months ago, a year ago. So a commercial bank, for example, we've saved you 12 hours per pay period, and they go, okay, that calculates out too. Are you able to do that?
We have some generalities. Again, we don't have a lot of clients,
Right.
so our pool of data is not very big. But we do have some generalities. One of the challenges that we have, and this is one of my favorite sayings when I'm saying I'm doing my sales pitch, is staffing companies are like snowflakes. Every one of them is different. So when you go in, it's always a surprise what you find when you open the hood. And I have the privilege and the misfortune of opening the hood to a lot of staffing companies. And sometimes I close it again and walk away. But sometimes we see some good stuff in there, and we're able to save them a lot of money. But we really encourage industry best practices. So in an ideal situation, we help them actually change their process to be more along lines with industry standards. Yes?
I think you mentioned there were 4 software companies that work at the enterprise level. Why have they ignored the non-enterprise level? And are you concerned that some of them, as you start making this area look attractive, that some of them might want to jump in there too? And what are you going to do to prevent that?
Yeah, I really do hope I make this area look attractive. I'm just kidding. I am actually the best looking CEO out of all 5 of us. I have to say that. No, that's not how I got the job. I paid for it, so. So that's an excellent question, and there is actually only one of the 4 that could move down market based on the way they do their offering their pricing. That's TempWorks, and they're actually right now our biggest competitor. What's been happening is some of these competitors have been snapped up. So this market is really hot right now for mergers and acquisitions, and as they get bought by bigger companies, the focus changes to really just focus on enterprise. Some of these like bigger companies are paying $20,000, $25,000 a month just to use software. So for them, capturing the enterprise market, it's fewer customers, bigger revenue. But there are actually a research team that showed there's about 22,000 staffing companies, and a majority of them have nothing. So even if they came and took 5% of the market, there's still a lot left for me.
Yeah, have you considered home health companies besides temping? Because when you explain the temp agency model, a friend of mine runs this home health company, it's small up in St. Louis, and the model seems very similar.
Yeah. I've actually gotten this question a couple of times, and we've looked at it. The biggest inhibitor right now is the medical billing codes. So we're not really set up for that. Outside of that, there are a lot of similarities in how they run. So it wouldn't be a huge adaptation, but that's a fairly significant component. So it's one of those kind of like gray area future considerations, but right now we're laser focused on where we are. But we've definitely heard that before.
funds in security services?
Security services, they're all just staffing companies. I mean, we have staffing companies that run the gamut. It's, you know, IT, health, general staffing, or whatever, but it's all staffing. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Just to add on to his point, so there's a lot of home health care that actually is non-medical, so, and people use it in personal pay, so I'd say don't overlook that area, you know, as a potential source.
That's great. I didn't know that, actually. I haven't really looked into that. I've really been focused on staffing companies, but I'll be open to that. It was just the medical, all those medical codes. It's really scary.
Candy tear, that they might just go in and just make sure they took their meds or taken them shopping or something like that. And it is very much like a health agency model.
Yeah.
I may have missed it, but what is your ideal client? What size of staffing?
We focus on companies between 2 and 50 million in gross revenue. I've got companies that are below that. Yeah. Well, how many people? It's usually like 50 to somewhere between 50 and 500 people.
Hi. Going back to your, it's a pretty big team you got there. So I just want you to talk about how you went about balancing the amount of customers you have and your hiring process. I know it would have been a chicken and egg story. So how you went about handling that, and if you're cash flow positive now. These are the two questions.
Not cash flow positive, and probably won't be for a very long time. I don't pay them very much. It's typically how I afford them, and a couple of them are chained to their desk for a couple hours a day, so I don't pay them at all. Some of those were advisors. Not everybody's a full-time employee. Some of them are equity partners. So it's, you know, it's one of those things you got to balance as a founder and a company owner. I mean, I put in time and money, and then how much do I give up to get some other things? There's a great book, I don't know if anybody's read it, Slicing Pie, how you divide up equitably your company. It's very, very helpful. It's a huge consideration, Slicing Pie. There's a lot of resources online that help with that, but especially getting started, you never know like how much do you give to, you know, a co-founder or whatever, but it really makes it simple to address that. So it's one of the things we do. Yeah.
What type of liability do you take on in processing all this when you
Until we start handling sensitive information, not really that much. I mean, the only kind of liability would be business process. But in an absolutely worst case scenario, they just go back to the way they did it before, which was paper and Excel. When the very first version we did of this, it was a custom software for the consultant client that I had, and they had 900 temps, and so it's kind of a big deal. Like your first client is like this huge behemoth, and about the third week, the whole thing went down, and it was scary, but we made it through that. But it was not fun. But you know, it's just a matter of transmitting
So
hours.
then you're not responsible for paying the consultants themselves, you're just providing the software.
Yeah. Right now, I do not process payroll. I don't process anything. I just wiggle numbers around and send them where they're supposed to go. I may actually process payroll eventually. That might be part of the plan. Yeah.
We just align with payroll company to probably have access to 100%.
Yeah, and what we're doing right now is strategic alliances, talking to people. I mean, payroll companies are an excellent source of leads. I mean, they have the leads, and I don't usually give them up, but we've talked about partnering with them, like pay cards. We're in negotiations with FreshBooks right now, like for super invoice processing and things. It's really cool. A lot of cool stuff like that. Yeah.
How quickly can this be adapted in business? Like, is there any specific customization that goes into getting the software per each customer?
Well, this goes back to every staffing company they're like snowflakes. It depends on how homogeneous they are with the process. And when I say that I've walked away from some, I have. There are some that just require way too much customization. So since we're in an early stage, what we look at is the thing that they need or the thing that's different. Is this something that I can sell to other people? Is this going to be useful to other people? We don't just look at, are we going to make money from them? Because it doesn't make sense to, make a custom thing that's going to be like an appendix that nobody else is going to use. So when we look at that, we just look at those things. But, assuming that they're relatively monotonous with the process, it's very quick. The biggest adaptation time is their people, getting their people.
Yeah.
How scalable is it as the companies you acquire grow? You mentioned you have this boundary of the 500 employees. How scalable is the software?
To get bigger,
Right.
to like bigger companies or like more.
So like if one of the companies you have is acquired by another company, they like the use of this, could you actually scale up?
We could. We're really not poised for what I term the enterprise level yet. It's one of the things that we're constantly improving. So it was about 10 months ago we launched what's called the minimal viable product, and it's just the bare bones basic piece of crap that goes out and barely works. And it's gotten a lot better since then. So it works really well now. And as we go along, we do. It's not crap anymore. So as we go along, it gets better. We improve the processes and things. And assuming that we hit our goal by the end of next year of that particular run rate and are able to maintain our staff and everything, we should be able to increase that upper limit boundary as we go along. So we won't be confined by that for very long. It's just where we are right now. We don't want to bite off another good chew. That's never fun.
U.S. only, or you have any plans for international?
Well, I don't speak French or Belgian, so I'm kind of confined to the U.S. right now. Canada maybe, but I got a thought about it. We got to get short up here before we launch overseas. I wouldn't mind a European office.
Yeah. So how, as a group, can we help you further your business?
Aha! The biggest thing that I need, which is what I said in my ask, is I need leads. I am laser focused on lead generation, on getting new business, on finding people who can generate leads for me. So that's what I need. So if you know anybody who owns a staffing company, if you know anybody who knows anybody who owns a staffing company, or if you slept with somebody who knows somebody who owns a staffing company,